Hi, welcome to the first of my live streams. Today, I'm going to be reading you the first chapter from Living with Saci. Apologize for the glasses. These are actually my spare pair of glasses. I managed to break my usual pair of glasses, and in actual fact, um, as you can see, I managed to break the spare pair as well. So I'm just going to perch these ridiculously. They actually look quite straight there at the moment, but I'm sure that won't happen for long. And we're going to dive into chapter one of Living with Saci, the dentist, 11th of January 2016. The building was just as she remembered it. A private house originally. The front was now obscured by large, beautiful faces with perfect teeth. Huge bubble letters spelled the words, "Teeth you like." Teresa got her breath back from the short walk, then reached up to press the entry phone button. Teresa couldn't quite decipher the tinny voice which crackled through the small plastic speaker. "I have an appointment," she said, unable to hear the reply before the device buzzed at her. She heard a metallic clunk, and the large gate opened an inch. Teresa pushed her way through and, with effort, managed to close the gate behind her. "Name?" the receptionist asked between smiles. "Teresa de Silva. I'm early." The receptionist was indifferent to Teresa's punctuality. "Take a seat," she smiled. Teresa flopped onto the only chair, a large sofa. She slumped down into its brown leather cushions and waited. Her phone vibrated. It was a text from her fiancé, Felipe, telling her he loved her and that he was sorry. She was about to text a reply when she heard her name. "You can go through," said the receptionist. "Through here?" Teresa indicated the only door in the room, other than the entrance. "Yes," the receptionist sighed. Teresa opened the door and walked into a white room filled with modern dental equipment. A man in a white medical coat was arranging utensils. "Good afternoon. You can leave your bag here," the dentist turned and gestured to a chair. Teresa had forgotten how good-looking he was. She realized her phobia of dental work must have been huge to keep her away from that man for 5 years. But she could tolerate the pain in her jaw no longer. She climbed onto the examination chair. "Okay, let's have a look," he said. Teresa imagined him leaning over and kissing him, and then reminded herself that she was still engaged to be married, even if her fiancé was the bastard. The dentist turned away, fiddling with something just outside Teresa's vision. When he returned, he was wearing a surgical mask. Teresa opened her mouth to expose her valuable collection of old fillings in complementary decay. The dentist mused, peering inside. Did dentists only date people with perfect teeth? What about bad breath? She tried to stop breathing for a while, but couldn't keep it up for long. She needed to swallow. A bang and a loud metallic crash from outside, then distant shouting. "Excuse me." The charming dentist left to investigate. Teresa lay still for a moment, her mouth wide open. She closed her stiff jaw. More shouts. In the next room, a woman screamed. Shit! What could she do? Teresa sat frozen in the chair until her amygdala allowed her frontal lobes to consider the problem. Before her frontal lobes had made up their minds, a masked man burst through the door and pinned Teresa to the chair, knife in her face. "Money!" ordered Knife Man. Teresa kept her hand in clear view and pointed towards her handbag. Knife Man glanced at the bag and punched Teresa in the face. Darkness. Teresa's face hurt. She smelt burning. Her mouth, arms, and legs would not move. She was on a hard surface. She opened her eyes. She recognized the white floor and white equipment. Teresa began to remember what had happened. She began to panic. She wriggled and loosened what felt like tape binding her wrists. She twisted and turned, managed to create enough distance between her two large wrists to use her arms to prop herself up. From where was the burning coming? She looked around the room. It must be coming from outside. She listened, holding her breath. Silence. Where were the charming dentist and his receptionist? Where were the robbers? Where was her handbag? Teresa searched for something to cut the tape. The best she could find was the corner of her formica cupboard door. Unable to stand up and search on the high surfaces, Teresa backed up to the cabinet and rubbed the tape up and down the formica corner. She could pull her wrists further apart until the tape snapped, and she was free to examine her wrists, red, sore, and littered with shreds of tape that ripped the tiny bleached hairs off her arm when she tried to remove them. Leaving the remaining tape and turning her attention to her ankles, Teresa expected Knife Man to burst in at any moment and was desperate to get free and get away. Teresa pulled at the bindings and, unable to tear the tape, she took a deep breath, and despite her heart almost beating itself out of her chest, she took some deep breaths and somehow found the patience to locate the end and unwind it. Free of her bonds, Teresa stood, placed her ear against the door. Although she heard nothing, the smell of burning was stronger. Teresa took a deep breath and eased the door open, wide enough to peer through. She could see something on the sofa, the same sofa she had been waiting on not so long ago. The sofa itself seemed to be smoldering. A charred lump spread out on it, was smoking. Teresa peered, trying to make out its shape, then fell back in horror. She realized the piece of smoking remains had hands. Teresa retched, but nothing came out. She spat a mouthful of bile and wiped her mouth on her sleeve. What to do? She looked around the examination room for a phone. There wasn't one. She looked for an exit. None. Not even a window. The way out was through the reception, past the smoking corpse. She took another deep breath, walked to the door, and pushed it open. There it was. She opened the door wide and looked around. No one. No one except the burnt remains on the sofa of the dentist or receptionist, she assumed. Teresa tried to give the corpse a wide berth, but an overwhelming curiosity she could not control. She turned and looked at the two white, round eyes staring back at her in desperation. Darkness. There you go. Hope you like the opening chapter of Living with Saci. If you'd like to read more, Living with Saci is permanently free on Amazon, and you can download it from I've got a link to download it from my website, which is www.mjdees.com. Okay, see you next time when I'll be reading another chapter of another book.